The story starts in 1976 at the Dragung market in Semarang village. We see some kids heading out to play, making a ball themselves. Just then, the father of a boy named Abdi comes out and tells him to be home before sunset. Abdi agrees. Then he keeps playing with his friends all the way until evening. But as it starts getting dark, his friends say it's time to head home, because it'll be night soon. But Abdi and one of his friends don't listen. They keep playing. While playing, their ball rolls into the middle of the crops. Abdi says they can get the ball tomorrow, but his friend wants to grab it right now. So both of them go into the fields to find the ball. While they're searching, it gets dark, but they still can't find it. Abdi says again that they should go back, but his friend refuses to leave without the ball. Then they start feeling like someone's in the middle of the crops. When they go toward that area, they see a creepy girl, almost like a demon, standing there holding their ball. Even after seeing her, Tris only cares about getting his ball and starts walking toward her. It looks like that girl has hypnotized him or something. When Abdi follows behind, he sees the demon girl strike Tris on the head and kill him. Seeing that terrifying moment, Abdi immediately runs off and brings the villagers. Shockingly, Tris's body isn't there anymore, but there's blood everywhere on the ground. Then, on the other side, the villagers notice something near the river. When everyone goes there, they find Tris's rotting corpse. Seeing that, the villagers are completely horrified. The next day, Tris's father thinks Abdi is making up a story about the girl. He says maybe it was actually Abdi who killed Tris, since he was the last one seen with him. So, he wants to punish Abdi. But then, Abdi's father steps in and defends him in front of the villagers. Right then, Mr. Shabdo arrives and says he fully believes what Abdi said. Mr. Shabdo explains that it was probably Sumala who killed Tris, and that means she's still somewhere inside the village. Everyone is shocked by Mr. Shabdo's words. Then Mr. Shabdo begins to tell the story of Sumala. This goes back 29 years earlier, to the year 1947. Now we're looking at the richest man in Samarang village at the time, Sojiman, and his uncle. Sojiman's wife's name is Lastri, and they've been married for 11 years, but they haven't had any children. Because of that, Sojiman's uncle wants him to sell his land to build a factory, which would bring in a big profit. The uncle himself had already sold his own land, but Sojiman refuses because he doesn't want to sell it. That land is a symbol of his family's legacy. Then his uncle threatens him, saying the land belongs to the Sankara family, so he has rights over it too. And since Sojiman has no children of his own, his uncle is planning to take everything under his control. Hearing all this really bothers Sojiman. Then Sojiman talks to his wife privately and clearly tells her that if she doesn't give him a child within a year, he'll marry someone else. Lastri gets really upset by this and walks away, feeling sad. Outside, there are two workers in the shed talking, and from their conversation, Lastri hears about Grandma Tokina, a woman known for helping ladies get pregnant. Her remedies and old methods were said to be very effective. After hearing that, Lastri decides she wants to go see Tokina. She heads out with Aunt Sum, the lady who works at her house, to visit Tokina's place. To get there, they have to cross a river, and only one man, Yanto, helps people cross it. He also helps the two women cross and drops them off at Tokina's house. Lastri went alone to Tokina's house. There, Tokina clearly tells her that her methods are different. She uses black magic that comes from the devil. Tokina says she can make Lastri pregnant, but there's a catch. Lastri will give birth to twin daughters. One will be completely normal, beautiful, and kind, but the other will be ugly and dangerous. The condition is that Lastri must raise both of them with love and care until they turn 10. After that, once they're 10 years old, the devil will come to take his child, and Lastri can stay with the human daughter. But there's a warning. If Lastri ever harms the devil's child, it'll bring disaster on her entire bloodline. Nothing will be left of her family. Lastri gets scared but agrees to the deal because she has no other option. Then Tokina performs a ritual, mixing some items in blood and making Lastri drink it, while chanting mantras. 2 months pass and we see that Lastri really is pregnant. Knowing this, Sojiman looks super happy and immediately tells someone to inform the whole village. Back then, it was common in the village, especially among rich families, to publicly announce such news as a moment of celebration, that an heir is on the way. Now Sojiman and Lastri start thinking of baby names together. For one daughter, they choose the name Sumala, and for the other girl, Lastri picks the name Kumala. The village doctor had already told them earlier that they were expecting twins. Then we see Lastri's breathing ceremony. Soon, the day of her delivery arrives, and at that moment, the devil can be seen sitting near the bed in the room. The first baby is born, but she's completely silent. Everyone thinks she might not be alive, but they don't tell Lastri. Instead, they ask her to keep pushing. Then, the second baby is born, and she looks terrifying, almost deformed. When the cries start, Sojiman enters the room. He first sees the normal-looking baby and seems troubled. But when he goes near the other baby, he becomes furious. The second baby was clearly not normal. She was the devil's child. He storms out, brings a large dagger, and starts trying to kill the deformed baby. Lastri tries to stop him, knowing the deal she made with the devil, but Sojiman doesn't know anything about it, and he kills the child. After that, the story jumps ahead by 3 years. Now we see that the baby who survived was named Kumala, but she was disabled on her left side, and even at age 3, she still couldn't speak properly. Sojiman and Lastri are constantly worried about this. Meanwhile, we see some of Sojiman's relatives sitting and talking, and through their conversation, we learn that Sojiman himself was also born deformed as a child. Because of that, he had trouble walking too. Back then, a woman named Dharmi gave him massage treatments, and eventually he recovered. But Kumala had already been taken to Dharmi by her parents, and even after the same massage treatment, nothing changed for her. Lastri is quietly listening to all of this. A few days later, while Kumala is playing with a cycle, Lastri tells her to stop. Kumala suddenly starts screaming, and Sojiman sees the whole thing. Then Kumala runs into her room, furious, and starts banging her head on the bed. Watching that, Sojiman thinks she might be mentally unstable, so he drags her to an old shed-like place and locks her in there. Now the story jumps to the year 1955. We see that because of Kumala's disability, Sojiman doesn't treat her well. In fact, no one really does. She's mostly kept locked up in the shed. But now, Kumala somehow manages to get out of the shed and ends up at the market, where some kids are playing. When they see her, they start mocking her disability and even beat her up. Sojiman and Lastri are watching all this from a distance, but they don't help her, which is honestly pretty awful. Kumala just stands there crying. In the next scene, Sojiman grabs her and drags her back to the shed. He calls Sukir and asks for his whip. The thing is, Sojiman had already told Kumala many times not to go out, but she went to the market anyway. Now Aunt Sum, who truly cares for Kumala, begs Sojiman not to hit her. Lastri also tries to stop him, but Sojiman doesn't listen to anyone. He beats Kumala badly with the whip. At night, while Kumala is sleeping with her doll, she hears a voice coming from her closet, and it turns out to be her own twin sister's spirit. Sumala tells Kumala that she's her twin, and that their parents had killed her at birth. Specifically, it was Sojiman who did it. Sumala explains that they did it because she wasn't pretty. At first, Kumala is scared of Sumala's spirit, but then Sumala calmly talks to her and promises she won't hurt her. In fact, she says she'll protect her because she's her sister. Then Sumala hugs Kumala, and Kumala actually feels comforted. But right then, we see Sumala give a creepy smile. No one else in the room can see her, since she's just a spirit. The next night, while Sojiman is working, Kumala is playing the piano, but Sojiman gets super irritated by the sound, so much so that he walks up and slaps her across the face. Lastri sees it happen, but still doesn't say anything to Sojiman. She doesn't even try to comfort Kumala. Instead, she tells Aunt Sum to quiet her down. Basically, she wasn't acting like a real mother at all. She had married into a powerful family, which might have made her scared. Or maybe there was another reason, but still, she should have acted like a mom. Anyway, Aunt Sum tells Kumala to stay strong. Then, after thinking for a moment, she walks into Sojiman's room. And suddenly, her body starts working fine. When Sojiman sees her walking normally, he's shocked. But before he can even react, Kumala runs in, grabs a sharp pen, and stabs it right into Sojiman's hand. That wasn't her doing. It was Sumala's spirit, getting revenge for what he did to her. So to punish Kumala for what she did, Sojiman ties her up on a cross out in the fields under the hot sun. Kumala cries out for her mom, but Lastri doesn't say a word. She just walks away. Seeing that makes Kumala furious. Later that night, while Lastri, Sojiman, and Kumala are having dinner together, suddenly Kumala gets possessed by her sister's spirit. While possessed, Kumala takes off her undergarments and, with a creepy smile, pees right on the dining table. Seeing that, Sojiman goes into a rage and immediately tells Sukir to tie her up, but Kumala attacks Sukir on the spot. While everyone's trying to stop her, Lastri catches a glimpse of Kumala's reflection in the mirror and sees Sumala standing there. That sight completely shocks her, and she quietly walks out of the house. When Lastri and Aunt Sum go outside looking for Kumala, they see her chewing on raw chicken after killing them herself. The next day, when Kumala regains consciousness, Aunt Sum tries to talk to her and asks why she's been acting so strangely. Then Kumala tells her the whole truth, that it's not really her doing all this, it's her sister Sumala's spirit who's behind it, and she's still around them. Lastri overhears all of this from outside and suddenly realizes everything, that breaking the deal was a huge mistake. Now she just wants to protect herself from destruction, so she hurries off to meet Tokina. Aunt Sum sees her leaving, so she asks her son Shabdo to keep an eye on Kumala for a while, and then heads after Lastri. Shabdo was actually Aunt Sum's son, and he's the one telling this whole story to the villagers back in 1976. How he got here and what happened, we'll definitely find out later. Now back to the story, we see Lastri going straight to Yanto, and Yanto tells her that Tokina actually died just last month. Hearing that makes Lastri even more worried, since Tokina was the only one who could possibly help her. So out of panic, she finally tells Aunt Sum the truth, that she made a deal with the devil just to get pregnant. She had never told anyone that before. And after hearing this, Aunt Sum is completely shocked and scared too. So now the story jumps forward another year to 1956, and things are getting even worse for Kumala. Sukir still takes her to the shed and chains her up, telling her to stay quiet. He even locks it from the outside with a padlock. Aunt Sum keeps telling Sojiman not to treat her like that, but in his eyes, Kumala was just becoming more and more wild, so he flat out refuses to let her out. Then we see Aunt Sum, who always talks to Kumala from outside the shed. She tells her that no matter what she becomes, she'll always love her. And honestly, Kumala had no one else. Aunt Sum was the only one who gave her strength. Now, while Kumala is sitting in her room, those same kids from earlier show up outside, the ones who had bullied her in the market. They try to lure her downstairs again by pretending they just want to play ball, and one of them starts teasing her, calling her handicapped. This time too, they go too far, hitting her, smearing potter's clay on her face. Aunt Sum sees what's happening and runs out to chase them away, but before leaving, one of the boys throws the ball right at Kumala's head. Now Kumala's crying, and her eyes fall on her parents, who were just watching everything, doing nothing to help her. That moment makes her hatred toward them grow even more. That night, Kumala was locked up in the shed again. During dinner, Lostri feels like something's wrong in there, but Sojiman brushes it off, says she's imagining things, and doesn't let her go check. Then we see Kumala, who had freed herself and was walking completely normal. That means her sister had possessed her again. She pulls a dagger from a nearby box and walks outside. That's when we see one of the boys who had bullied her earlier. He's near a well, getting some water. Suddenly, he hears a sound coming from the bushes. Then Kumala appears from inside, and right behind her is Sumala's spirit. The boy is terrified, and before he can run away, Kumala grabs him, slices his back with the dagger, and then hits him on the head. Next, we see two more kids, part of the same group that used to bully Kumala. She walks up to them, starts haunting them badly, and then ends up brutally killing them too. The next morning, the whole village is out searching for the missing kids, but no one finds any of them, not even their bodies. So the next day, they decide to search in the neighboring village too. And until then, all kids are strictly told not to go out after sunset. Now in the next scene, we see the remaining kids sitting at home. They're thinking maybe the three kids are just pulling some kind of prank, like they've been gone with the ball for 3 days straight. They're sitting alone inside. Suddenly, the door opens, and Kumala is standing there. She's holding that same ball and leaves it right at the door before walking away. Seeing a chance, the other kids head outside and try to mess with her again. But then, one of them notices the dagger in her hand. Still, nobody takes it too seriously. One of them starts walking toward her, and we already know Kumala was possessed, and she came back for revenge. So she snaps and attacks, and one by one, she brutally kills them all. The next day, while the villagers are out searching for the rest of the missing kids, they find 2 dead bodies, and lying next to them is Kumala's doll, the same one Aunt Sum had made for her. Meanwhile, when Aunt Sum is pulling water from the well, she sees blood in it and gets terrified. Sukir comes to check, and they end up finding more kids' bodies inside the well. Seeing all this leaves Sojiman completely shocked. Then, the villagers find more kids' bodies near a pit in the fields, surrounded by corpses. The kids' heads are stacked one over the other, all stuck onto wooden poles. Everyone in the village is completely horrified by the scene. Since they found Kumala's doll near the bodies, the villagers start thinking Sojiman is behind all this. They go to his house to confront him, but since Sojiman is a rich man, he talks them down and demands proof first. Now they're suspicious of both Sojiman and Kumala, but they can't really do anything, so they all just return to their homes. After everyone leaves, even Sojiman is confused. He's not sure whether Kumala really did all this or not, since he's only ever seen her walking very little. But for a moment, it does cross his mind that she can walk sometimes, so maybe it is possible. Then another thought hits him. Even if she did do it, how did she get out of the shed? That question keeps bothering him, and while talking to Lastri, he goes inside the shed. That's when they see a big hole in the wall, hidden behind some sacks, which means Kumala had been sneaking out through that hole. Now Sojiman's fully convinced that all the kids in the village who died, Kumala is the one who killed them. And right then, Lastri finally tells him the truth. She says it wasn't Kumala. It was Sumala's spirit that did everything, and she even saw it with her own eyes. Sojiman feels overwhelmed hearing this, and he gets flashes of that moment when he killed Sumala at birth. Then he goes to talk to Kumala. At first, she says nothing, but when he promises not to hurt her, Kumala opens up and tells him everything. That yes, it's true. Sumala's spirit possessed her and made her do all of it. Kumala says she tried to stop her, but Sumala wouldn't listen. And then she says Sumala promised she won't spare a single person who ever hurt her. Sojiman starts thinking and quickly heads downstairs. He tells Sukir to tie Kumala up tightly inside the shed. Then he himself goes to see a group of shamans, hoping they might be able to separate Sumala's spirit from Kumala. Sukir ties Kumala up really tight, and she's crying, totally confused about what's even going on. That's when Aunt Sum comes over to calm her down and comfort her. Now, that night is also Kamala's 9th birthday, and the only gift she wants from Aunt Sum is for her to leave, because Sumala already told her that at exactly midnight, she'll fully possess her and take revenge for her death. Kamala doesn't want to hurt Aunt Sum when she's possessed, so she begs her to go. Aunt Sum really doesn't want to leave her behind, but because Kamala insists so much, she agrees. Right away, she grabs her son Shabdo and leaves the house. Shabdo keeps asking what's going on and why they're leaving her like this, but Aunt Sum doesn't explain anything yet. Then they leave. Later on, Sakir goes into the shed to bring food for Kamala, but she doesn't like the food at all. Sakir doesn't even bother talking to her properly. And then, right in front of him, Kamala grabs a cockroach and starts eating it, and she actually likes it. That totally disgusts Sakir, and he just walks out of there. Now Sojiman reaches Kusno and tells him everything. Kusno grabs a pot nearby and starts chanting some spells over it. Through that pot, he's able to see the ritual Tokina performed, and he also learns about the deal that was made with the devil. Then, when Sojiman asks about how to save Kamala and fix everything, Kusno's eyes suddenly turn completely white. He says the devil is extremely angry because his child was killed, meaning Sumala, and tonight, Sumala is going to completely take over Kamala's body. As soon as Kusno returns to normal, he gives Sojiman a special dagger, one that can weaken Sumala's power. With it, Sojiman can overpower her and bring her back to Kusno, where Kusno can cast the final spell. But he also gives Sojiman a warning that if things start to spiral out of control, Sojiman will have to stab Sumala or Kumala straight in the heart with that dagger and end it for good, because they can't allow a devil's child to stay in their world. Both must be destroyed. Sojiman agrees and starts heading back home with the dagger. In the next scene, while Sakir is sleeping, he suddenly hears Kamala's voice. She had freed herself again. That means she was possessed once more. She comes outside Sukir's house and pretends to cry. When Sukir tries to grab her, Kamala suddenly swings the dagger at him. At first, he dodges it and escapes, but he gets so terrified that he runs straight to Sojiman's house and locks the gate from the inside. But Kamala keeps slamming the gate with the dagger again and again, until she finally breaks it down and enters. When Sukir tries to run away from her again, Kamala throws the dagger straight through his body, and then she slices his throat too. Now it was Lastri's turn. She was sleeping peacefully in her room when she suddenly heard Kamala playing the piano. Hearing that, she walks toward the piano room, and when she gets there, Kamala starts walking toward her. She wanted to kill Lastri, and Lastri had already seen in the mirror that it was Sumala making Kamala do all this. So Lastri gets really scared and tries to calmly talk to Kamala and make her settle down. But when Kamala doesn't listen, Lastri runs toward the other room. On the way, she sees Sukir's dead body, and by seeing that, she realizes her own end is near too, which makes her even more terrified. Then Lastri quickly runs into the room and places a heavy table in front of the door so the possessed Kamala can't get in. Kamala first attacks the door with the dagger, and when the gate weakens, she pushes it open and breaks in. Clearly, she was possessed. That's how she broke through. Now Sumala wanted to take revenge for her death using Kamala's body in any way possible. Lastri tried to explain to her that she didn't do anything and that the situation was out of her hands. She even tried to save Kamala, but because of fear, she never spoke up to Sojiman. Even after knowing all this, Sumala didn't care about anything Lastri said. She told her that she had just stayed quiet, trying only to protect herself. And while saying that, she violently attacked Lastri's leg, and now she was about to kill her. By now, Lastri had kind of understood that she really did wrong, and she also knew this was the end for her. So she made one final request to Sumala, just let her talk to Kamala one last time. Sumala agreed and gave control of the body back to Kamala. Lastri began apologizing to Kamala for not being a good mother, and Kamala, seeing her in that state, didn't feel good either. She had already forgiven Lastri in her heart, but Sumala didn't forgive her. She took control of Kamala's body again, and after cutting Lastri's hands, she killed her with the dagger. A little while later, Sojiman also reaches home. The first thing he sees is Sukir's dead body, and when he goes upstairs and sees Lastri dead too, he completely breaks down. Because killing Sumala and mistreating Kamala, that was all his own fault. And now, no matter what, he wanted to make it right. Then he notices the rocking chair in the room where Kamala was sitting, being rocked by Sumala. And right after that, Sumala fully enters Kamala's body and starts heading towards Sojiman. She badly injures him too, but he somehow manages to escape the house and make it to the village. There, he rings the emergency bell and quickly gathers all the villagers to tell them about Sakir and Lastri's deaths. Hearing this, everyone in the village gets worried and they rush to Sojiman's house with him. They all feel really sad after seeing Lastri and Sukir's bodies. Now when the villagers don't see Kamala there, Sojiman tells them to help him find her, because he wants to take her to Kusno no matter what. But the villagers don't really listen to him. They assume that Kamala killed all the children, as well as Lastri and Sukir. So they immediately set out to find her. Bloodlust had taken over them. Sojiman kept trying to tell them it wasn't Kamala, but no one believed him. and they all just left. So Sojimon quickly grabs an old and cursed dagger given by Kusno and heads out himself to look for Kumala. When he enters the shed, he does catch a glimpse of her for a moment, but in the next instant, she runs off into the fields. And of course, Sojimon chases after her, but there's no one there. Now, over there, Sumala had completely taken over Kumala's body and started attacking Sojimon. But then Sojimon grabs a rock lying nearby and knocks her out with a blow to the head. He was about to kill her with the dagger, because things had totally spiraled out of control. But after knowing the whole truth, he doesn't want to kill Kumala. And then he gently places her body into a bag, sits down nearby, and just breaks down crying. Sumala wakes up too and blames Sojimon for everything that happened. She makes him feel even more miserable and pushes him to the edge emotionally. Then, in the very next moment, she vanishes from the sack and starts attacking Sojimon again. But this time, Sojimon gathers his courage and stabs her with that same dagger Kusno gave him, and that actually starts to weaken Sumala. But then, we see that Sumala suddenly comes back to life and tells Sojimon that ever since she entered Kumala's body, her body's gone through a bunch of changes. Like, her teeth have fallen out, her hair's completely gone, and even her heart has shifted from the left side to the right, which means Sojimon stabbed the wrong spot. She mocks him for it, and then slices open his stomach with the dagger, spilling all his guts out. Then she picks up 2 wooden sticks and stabs them straight into Sojimon's eyes, killing him instantly. Then the very next day, everyone in the village finds Sojimon's body hanging on a cross in the field, just like how he used to hang Kumala for punishment. And Sumala didn't even spare Kusno. She killed him too, with the very same dagger he had given to Sojimon. So yeah, she got her revenge. And with that, the story jumps back to present day, and Shabdo wraps up the whole tale by saying this: that Sumala, the devil, has been in the village ever since. That's why no kid should ever be allowed outside at night. We even saw this at the start, when Abdi's father told him to be home before sunset and not wait till dark. Knowing all this, now every family in the village leaves an offering outside for Sumala, hoping she won't harm them. Now at night, we see that Triss's father, even after knowing the truth, didn't leave an offering, because he still believes it wasn't Sumala, but Abdi who killed Triss. He sees Sumala standing right in front of him, eating a man's body, and that's where the movie ends. At the end, there's a note that pops up, saying, "This is a true story," and near central Hawa, there's still a village called Samarang, where Sumala is said to be living to this day. So what do you think about all this? Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll catch you in another terrifying breakdown, so hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.